Welcome to the deep dive.
Great to be here.
So today we're doing something a bit different. We're really diving deep into one person's religious life.
Yeah, nearly 3 decades of it.
Based on these, well, fascinating notes we have about a man we'll just call Brahmini.
Right, and what's cool is it seems like a pretty direct account, tracing his journey from the 90s when he got back onto a spiritual path all the way up to 2023.
And the structure itself is interesting, isn't it? It's broken down into these distinct periods.
Exactly, shaped by, key spiritual moments and big life events.
And one thing that really jumps out is this guidance he apparently received through Guanyin Bodhisattva.
Yes, around 2011, that seems to be a major fork in the road in these notes.
It really splits the timeline, doesn't it? Before 2011 and after.
Pretty much.
So our mission, let's say, is to really unpack the milestones, the changes, spiritual, personal, all as laid out in this material we've got.
Yeah, trying to get a handle on not just what happened, but maybe why it mattered for his path.
Okay, let's get into it. Phase 1, the early journey. This covers, what, 1992 to 2010?
That's right. And it starts with the entrance to the path, or O. That's 92 to 2005.
And this is when he re-entered the path, around 6th grade.
Yeah, about 1992. And a really big event early on was taking a vow of vegetarianism.
To go, a vow of pure mouth.
Exactly. It's a serious commitment in this tradition, not just, cutting out meat.
So more than just diet, what were the reasons given?
Well, the notes list a few pretty intense ones.
Oh.
One was this experience involving clams, apparently seeking karmic retribution.
Oh, before clams?
Yeah.
Yeah, clams, seeking retribution. That's
And then there was a spiritual experience tied to something called the 9 turns divine skill.
Okay.
Which supposedly led to an out-of-body experience. Took him to the outer court of Maitreya.
Wow, an out-of-body experience as a kid. That sounds pretty formative.
You'd think so. And the third factor mentioned was the power of sincere repentance. Hasso.
So deep remorse kind of sealed the deal on the vow.
Seems like it played a big part, yeah. This idea that genuine repentance fuels major spiritual steps.
Okay, so after entering the path, he moves into this cultivating talents phase, 2000 to 2007.
Right, and this looks like a time where he's just gathering all sorts of skills.
Like what?
Well, early on, he helped his dad at a martial arts studio.
Ah, so some discipline there early.
Probably. Then after high school, vocational training for baking. And starting in 2000, he learned bread making specifically from a Japanese pastry chef.
Interesting mix, martial arts and baking.
Isn't it? And you wonder, like you said, if the discipline from one fed into the other.
Could be. The precision, maybe.
Maybe. Focus, patience. And in that same year, 2000, he also got certified as a bartender and in vegetarian Chinese cooking.
Bartending, too. He was really branching out.
Building a very practical, diverse base, it seems.
And then there's something about a dream, his grandfather.
Yeah, in 2003, apparently 100 days after his maternal grandfather passed away, he had this dream. Yeah. His grandfather guided him in learning martial arts skills in the dream.
Wow. So guidance even through dreams.
Seems like it. And the notes say this skill development, the baking and the dream martial arts, kept going until he got married.
That's fascinating.
Yep.
Formal training side by side with something so personal, almost mystical.
Right. Ancestral connection playing a role.
Okay, so the next bit in this early journey is the self-cultivation period.
Yeah.
2004 to 2010.
Yeah, and this sounds like where things got pretty intense. Experiences that really shifted his mindset.
How so?
Well, for one, he nearly died from an illness. This was during a spiritual outreach trip to the Philippines.
Whoa. A near-death experience. That would definitely change your perspective.
Absolutely. The notes don't detail his exact thoughts, but timing-wise, putting it in self-cultivation suggests it really made him dig deeper, value life, his path.
Makes sense. What else?
There was a manifestation of Zhang Yu.
Zhang, the sort of unconventional sage figure.
That's the one. And seeing this apparently inspired Yuna to really throw himself into helping with the spiritual work.
Awesome. So a direct spiritual encounter pushing him toward service.
Seems like it. And one more thing from this period. Another outreach trip, this time to Cambodia.
Okay.
He encountered spirits of landmine victims there.
Goodness. That sounds incredibly heavy.
Yeah. You imagine that would profoundly impact how you see suffering, compassion, really intense stuff shaping his inner world.
Definitely. Okay, so that wraps up the early journey. And then we hit 2011, this clear dividing line, phase 2, transformation and service.
Right, and it kicks off with the turning point. Just that 1 year, 2011.
What made it such a turning point?
According to the sources, he received direct spiritual guidance.
Guidance through a medium, kinda?
That's the idea. And it was specifically about methods of repentance, tied to really deep inner cultivation.
For sure. Moving towards a more internal, maybe contemplative practice.
That's what it sounds like, a significant deepening.
Okay. And after that pivotal year, we get the harmonizing family and spiritual life phase. 2011 to 2021.
Yep. This is where life gets, well, complex. He marries Ol in 2011.
Ah.
Their child is born the next year, and Into becomes the primary caregiver for their son.
So big family commitments alongside the spiritual path.
Huge. He also did some occasional work applying medicinal plasters for people in their homes, susu,
Okay.
and he took on caring for his paternal grandfather, too.
A lot on his plate.
Definitely. His grandfather then passed away in 2019,
Right, you mentioned that.
and then in 2020 he started working at a school. Okay.
A more regular job.
Seems like it. But then, a big challenge in 2021, his wife was diagnosed with a rectal tumor.
Oh no. That must have been incredibly difficult, balancing everything.
For sure. A period marked by trying to manage family, health scares, work, and spiritual duties.
But the notes also mention things that help create stability, right? Irokoriya yok.
Yes, several positive factors are listed. Help from benefactors, for instance, which allowed them to rent a place. Iyoko yuk.
That's huge.
Yeah, and they established a family altar. Plus, a manifestation of Maitreya Buddha is mentioned. Ikukuk.
So, continued spiritual presence and support at home.
Seems that way. Also, him getting that school job was listed as a stabilizing factor.
Right, the steady employment.
And importantly, the resolution of Il's Koper, Okoko,
Oh, that's wonderful news.
a huge relief, I imagine. So these things together help them find some stability amidst the difficulties.
A real testament to resilience, weaving together the practical and the spiritual. Okay, what's the final phase documented here?
It's called the Assisting in Spiritual Affairs period, from 2020 to 2023.
Overlapping a bit with the previous one then.
Right. It starts after his grandfather passed, and he's working at the school, but as a horticultural worker by this point.
Gardening.
Seems so. And the focus here really shifts to him actively helping others spiritually. Benevolent assistance, it's called. Oshidi.
And we get some specific examples of this.
We do. Quite detailed, actually. Involving the school principal.
Oh, what happened?
Well, the notes say Maitreya Buddha guided Uoi in a dream, telling him to help the principal find the path.
Another guiding dream. Okay.
And then after this dream, the principal, Mr. Su, Uo gets unexpectedly accepted into this advanced talent program. Exact. Will O.
Oh.
Town Chirizi.
Wow. So a link between the spiritual nudge and a real-world opportunity for the principal.
That's how it's presented. And the story continues with more spiritual promptings and events.
Which led to?
Ultimately, Mr. U's the principal, successfully seeking the spiritual path himself.
Oh, yeah. That's quite a story. It paints one who is really facilitating someone else's journey based on his own guidance.
Exactly. Actively assisting.
So, after 2023, what do the notes suggest? Is there a future outlook?
Yeah, they point to a new phase starting in 2024, the opening and pioneering period.
Sounds like another shift in focus.
Definitely. The emphasis is now meant to be on spreading teachings and guiding others more broadly.
So, moving from personal cultivation and assisting individuals to more of a public outreach role.
That seems to be the trajectory suggested for the future.
It really is an amazing journey mapped out here. From being a kid, re-entering the path, through all the skill building, the intense personal trials.
And family responsibilities, the service.
And now potentially moving into this pioneering phase. It feels quite cyclical.
It does, doesn't it? Learning, refining internally, then that leading to contributing outwardly, helping others. It's a pattern you see in many traditions. Inner growth fuels outer action.
And those specific moments, the clams, the grandfather's dream, the near-death experience, helping the principal, they make it so concrete.
Yeah, not just abstract phases, but real events, some quite unusual that clearly steered his course.
Absolutely. It's compelling how all these experiences, the ordinary and the extraordinary, seem to weave together into his specific spiritual life.
Which really brings up a question for you listening. How do your own experiences at the big moments, the small ones, the challenges, the unexpected things shape your understanding of your own life, maybe your own path, whatever that might be?
Yeah, and is there value, perhaps, in noticing the different phases we all go through? Phases of learning, maybe struggle, contribution,
Hmm.
especially if you feel drawn to a particular way of living or being. Something to think about.